Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Raise your hand if you've ever had a note placed on your door that ended up changing your life. I had an experience in San Marcos, Texas, when I was going to college, where someone had placed an invitation on my door in my apartment about a community garden someone wanted to start. And I was so intrigued by this because I didn't know many of my neighbors, and I was interested in learning about them, finding out what's going on in their lives, as well as gardening. It was something I was interested in, but didn't have the means or resources for. My roommate and I went to this meeting down just a few blocks away and found out they're building this garden directly behind where we live, just 20 feet behind my back patio, which was a very fantastic thing to discover. And we were super excited, and the beginning, you can see that it was very much just a very basic fence and some garden beds that we had developed. And with a little bit of love, patience, and a vision, we turned this into a community garden of extravagant proportions. Check out all these vegetables. This was years in the making, post of the original intention, but this is what I want to talk about to you, which is through the fun, fresh family farming for food that we had done, we had created a community of people that got to engage with each other to create a community garden. We made some of the freshest, most delicious food that we all got to enjoy, and most of all, we had a lot of fun. So first off, in the fun section, you can see my buddy David over here pulling out the first onion of the season from the garden, and look at the enthusiastic look on his face. He was blown away. We also decided to grow a radish beyond its typical life expectancy. Typically, you need to grow a radish in a few weeks and then pull it out and eat them. We said, what happens if you grow it for a few months? Well, it grows incredibly large, and it is not tasty, and it may be the spiciest thing you've ever eaten. As you can see, my hairstyle has also changed from my time in college, and this is a time when I woke up in the morning, go out to the garden, and it was the most fun thing for me to do was to see what's happening in there today. Are the roses blooming? Are the carrots growing? We had a lot of great times in the garden. We threw parties over there. We helped each other learn how to use different techniques and skills to grow our garden, our own personal plot. And we even had times when we would have water gun fights where we would be spraying each other with hoses unexpectedly and sometimes by surprise and to the dismay of the victim. So it was a blast to do this. It may seem about a bit of chore work to get it started, but once you did, it was immense fun. This leads me to my second point, which is fresh. You're not going to get anything tastier in the grocery store than what you can get from the garden. Here we can see the blooming tomatoes that are coming in, the garlic, which I didn't know takes over a year to grow to get to the right size from my experience. And we have some aloes and sunflowers, here's some kale, and just the fruits of the labor. You know, people told me they don't like tomatoes, and I couldn't understand that. I love tomatoes. But when I grew a tomato, I understood what they meant. That the tomatoes you buy from the store, I almost don't enjoy. I will not eat myself because they don't taste anything like the tomatoes you can grow from an actual garden. The texture is completely different. The taste of the juices is completely different. I am a bit of a snob now as far as tomatoes. And gardening has done this to me. So you'll save some money on going trips to the grocery store. That journey to there and picking up the packaged food and taking it home and the money you spend on that, you'll have tastier food and you'll get to do something which really is lacking in our lives today, I think, in many ways, which is we're so isolated, we don't get to connect with people that live 2 houses down from us. We don't get to see how our neighborhood is changing in their lives and what's going on with them. And that is the most powerful part about this community garden that I experienced, which is the family that we got to develop through this. In the 3 years that I was participating in this community garden in San Marcos, the Dunbar Community Garden, it started with that first plot that I showed you, where we developed it into this budding, fruitful endeavor, we even had fruit plants that we had planted that we got to see as they grew through the seasons. But we developed 3 other ones throughout the city. And through doing that, I found other friends, acquaintances, and even family that I would end up calling my family. As some of these people I still see today, I still keep in contact with, despite having moved from San Marcos. And this was the most key part for me, which was through the time and patience of creating a community garden, the soil got richer, became easier to grow our crops. Our relationships got stronger. We were able to help each other and learn the techniques and skills of what it takes to make some good plants and good vegetables. And we got to help each other out. It was an extraordinary experience for myself, and it proved that you can have a lot of fun with the freshness of these plants that we're growing in a family environment where we're all growing together, farming for food that we all need. It's something very pragmatic, you might say. So leads me to today, which is the garden plot in my backyard that I've started. And this was taken last year, and compare that to this morning when I took the latest picture, and you can see it's almost gotten worse, right? It has a lot of work to do. And so this is the testament to the family part of this, where when you have a community, you can work together, you get encouragement, and you can really put the energy into developing something. Although this is the way it is this winter, come spring, I have a feeling that this garden will be relieved. And I hope this can encapsulate in a way the benefits and value we get from community gardening. And lastly, I'd just like to share with you briefly a little snippet of a recording taken from our community garden.
Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard every Sunday morning at 9.
Turn the mic on. Sorry. Here we go.
What's going on at the corner of Mitchell Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard every Sunday morning at 9 isn't a church service, but you could say it's something just as spiritual.
You know, building this garden thing is almost, I see, the most essential thing for people to be outdoors, connect with people, and talk about how we can grow really good food.
Rahnamai lives at the apartments in front of the Dunbar neighborhood garden. He and several San Marcos residents have been working since December to get these gardens ready for public use.
I don't know who that guy was, but he sounded like who he was talking about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bijan. I told you guys he would be entertaining. He would be a bit of an emotional connection, and it would be well worth the price of admission for sure. As it always is when Bijan speaks. And Stephen will be up here momentarily to give a more thorough, more formal evaluation of Bijan's speech. But I did want to echo and state off of what Bijan said as far as the cultivating relationships. The food was just that was the goal, and that was